Snake Island. From far away, it looks like the perfect tropical island. Bright water surrounds thick green trees and the waves sound calm enough to make the place feel peaceful. But the second you step deeper into the island, the silence changes. This island off the coast of Brazil is filled with thousands of golden lancehead vipers, one of the deadliest snakes on Earth. Some scientists believe there can be several snakes in a single square meter. That means every branch, every rock, and every patch of grass could be alive. Their venom attacks flesh so aggressively that victims can die within hours if untreated. But here's the real danger. The snakes evolved in total isolation, so they became faster, more venomous, and more aggressive over time. Fishermen nearby tell stories about people who landed there and never came back. Today, the Brazilian government bans civilians from entering because on Snake Island, one wrong step can end everything instantly. Death Valley, this place looks empty, but the emptiness is exactly what makes it terrifying. Located in California, Death Valley holds some of the hottest temperatures ever recorded on Earth. During summer, the ground becomes so hot it can literally melt shoes and burn skin within seconds. The air itself feels heavy, like opening an oven directly into your face, but here's where it gets worse. The heat does not kill quickly, it drains you slowly. First your mouth dries out, then your muscles weaken. Then your brain starts making mistakes. Hikers have collapsed only a short distance from safety because the desert tricks people into believing they can handle it, and the landscape makes everything feel endless. Miles of salt flats stretch in every direction with almost no shade anywhere. Cars break down constantly because engines overheat under the brutal conditions. Death Valley doesn't attack violently. It simply waits for your body to fail while the sun keeps rising higher. Lake Natron. At first glance, the water looks beautiful. Bright red reflections glow across the surface while the landscape around it feels almost peaceful. But this lake in Tanzania is one of the strangest and deadliest environments on Earth. The water is so alkaline that it can burn skin and eyes on contact. Temperatures inside the lake can rise high enough to feel almost boiling in certain areas. Birds that accidentally crash into the water sometimes become preserved by the minerals, turning into hardened statues along the shoreline. And that is where the real horror begins. The lake looks alive and dead at the same time. Photographers who visit the area often describe it as feeling unnatural, like standing on another planet entirely. Yet somehow flamingos survive here because predators avoid the dangerous conditions completely. Nature created a place so toxic that most life cannot survive inside it, and somehow that same danger became the perfect protection for the creatures that adapted to it. Mount Everest. Most people imagine the summit as the greatest achievement on Earth. What they rarely imagine are the frozen bodies lining the path to the top. Mount Everest is so high that climbers eventually enter what is called the death zone, where oxygen becomes too thin for the human body to survive normally. Every step feels exhausting. Every breath feels incomplete. But here's the problem. Your brain slowly begins shutting down without you even realizing it. Climbers hallucinate, lose coordination, and sometimes sit down to rest before never standing up again. Storms appear without warning, covering the mountain in violent winds strong enough to throw people off cliffs instantly. Some bodies have remained frozen there for decades because rescuing them is too dangerous. Yet every year, people still climb toward the summit. The real danger of Everest is not just the cold or the height. It is the way ambition pushes humans far beyond what their bodies were designed to survive. The Danakil Depression. This place looks less like Earth and more like a planet that was never meant for humans. Located in Ethiopia, the Danakil Depression is filled with bubbling acid pools, toxic gases, and ground stained bright yellow from sulfur and minerals. Temperatures regularly rise high enough to make breathing feel difficult. Standing there feels like walking through a world that is actively rejecting life itself. But this is where it gets worse. The ground beneath your feet is unstable in many areas because volcanic activity constantly reshapes the landscape. Poisonous gas can drift through the air without warning. And despite all of this, people still work their mining salt under unbearable heat. Scientists often study the region because its extreme conditions resemble what other planets might look like. The terrifying part is realizing this is not science fiction. It exists right now on Earth. The Danakil Depression feels like nature stripped down to its rawest and most violent form. North Sentinel Island. Somewhere in the Indian Ocean sits one of the most mysterious places left on Earth. North Sentinel Island is home to the Sentinelese tribe, a group of people who have rejected contact with the outside world for centuries. Boats that get too close are often attacked with arrows and spears almost immediately. Helicopters flying above the island have reportedly been met with resistance from below. Very little is known about the tribe because almost nobody has interacted with them peacefully. But the real danger is not only for outsiders. Modern diseases that feel harmless to most people could wipe out the entire population because the tribe has no immunity to them. That is why governments strictly ban anyone from approaching the island. The mystery surrounding the place only makes it more unsettling. Nobody truly knows how the Sentinelese live, how many people remain there, or what they think when they see the modern world passing beyond their shores. The Catacombs of Paris. Beneath one of the busiest cities in the world lies a massive underground maze filled with human bones. The Paris Catacombs stretch for hundreds of kilometers beneath the streets, holding the remains of millions of people stacked into walls that disappear into darkness. Tourists only see a tiny controlled section, but beyond that are endless tunnels where people still get lost today. Some explorers enter illegally searching for hidden chambers deep underground. But here's where the fear becomes real. Once you lose your sense of direction down there, every tunnel begins looking exactly the same. The silence becomes overwhelming. Some areas flood suddenly while others collapse without warning. Rescue teams have found people wandering for days in total darkness after taking one wrong turn. Standing underground surrounded by endless skulls while realizing nobody above knows where you are creates a kind of fear that feels ancient. The deeper you go, the more the catacombs begin feeling alive. Death Road, high in the mountains of Bolivia, is a road so dangerous that surviving it once became a source of pride. Officially called the North Yungas Road, this narrow path cuts directly along steep cliffs with drops thousands of feet deep. Some sections are barely wide enough for two vehicles to pass each other. Rain turns the dirt surface slippery while thick fog blinds drivers completely. But the real danger is how quickly everything can go wrong. One small mistake is enough to send a truck, bus, or car falling straight into the jungle below. Before safer highways were built, hundreds of people reportedly died here every year. Even now, thrill-seeking cyclists race down the road for adrenaline, balancing beside cliffs with almost no barriers protecting them. Driving there feels less like transportation and more like gambling against gravity itself. Every turn forces you closer to the edge, while the mountain reminds you exactly how fragile survival can be.